In the valley of the Delaware lived a peaceful tribe of Indians. Lenape, their name was. Deer and bear, wildcat and panther. Through the forest off they hunted. On the bosom of the river, peacefully they fished and paddled. Round their busy village wigwam, still the chase they nimbly followed. Springtime blossomed into summer. Summer and autumn ripened. Autumn died on winter's bosom. Thus the seasons in succession, never ending, seemed to pass on. Fathers taught their sons, sons taught their sons, and still those sons taught theirs. Knowledge was passed from one generation to the next, for knowledge not passed on was soon lost forever. Aquila, great chieftain of the Delaware nation, soon saw that there were a few young men who gave of themselves both freely and willingly to learn of their world. These young men were destined to acquire greater knowledge, experience more adventure, and achieve a higher level skill than most. And Aquila felt it was only right and just that these few among the many should be marked in such a way that all may see both day and night of the great deeds that they had done. And it was to pass that they would be marked with the arrow of light. At that first ceremony, Aquila announced he would come among all future generations and mark the young men, but only when their leaders felt that they are ready. Come, master, the fires of the arrow have summoned me. I have told you of the legends, and as I promised centuries ago, I'm among you tonight, both in body and spirit. Are there any among us tonight who you feel deserve this highest honor?
Yes, there are.
Bring them before me along with their parents, and I alone will judge whether they are worthy.
Powers of light, when I call your names, please rise and stand together with your parents before the chief will be judged. Aiden McMahon, Ben Grimes, Blaine Prince, Davis Hamby, Kenny Anderson, John Weeks, Grady Nordquist, and Nolan Stokes.
Submaster, are these the young men who you feel deserve this honor?
Yes, they are.
So be it. Tell me, Cubmaster, have these young men tried to learn of their world over the last several years?
Yes, they have.
Have they shown a willingness to teach younger boys what has been taught to them?
Yes, they have.
Have they experienced great adventure?
Yes, they have.
Have they shown a higher level of skill than most?
Yes, they have.
So be it. You and your fellow leaders have taught them well, and you are to be congratulated. Will you assist me in marking these young men with the highest rank in Cub Scouting,
Yes, sir.
Arrow of Light?
Yes, I will.
Scouts, think back over the last several years. As I tell you the story of how your journey through Cub Scouting has gone side by side of that of the white man's journey across my land. When you first entered Scouting, you were great in number. And when the white man came to the shores of my land when the sun brings a new day, he too was great in number. And he's decided he wanted to follow the path of the sun across my lands. And you decided you wanted to advance through Scouting. You both did not know what lay ahead, but you both set upon your journey with great adventure in your hearts. And soon the white man came to the valleys of my land. And the valleys were deep and dark, and some were afraid to climb out of those valleys. So they quit and gave up, to remain in the valleys forever. You scouts have experienced valleys along your journey. where everything seemed so deep and dark. And some of your fellow scouters felt it was easier to quit and give up, to remain in the valleys forever. But you didn't. You climbed out of those valleys, just like the white man who soon found himself upon the prairies of my land. The prairies were vast and endless, and there was no clear direction across them, and some became lost. So they quit and gave up, to remain upon the prairies forever. You scouts have experienced prairies along your journey, where everything seemed so endless, and there did not seem to be a clear direction. And some of your fellow scouters became lost, so they quit and gave up, to remain upon the prairies forever. Soon the white man came upon the mountains of my land, and the mountains were tall and steep, and some looked upon them and said it was too difficult to climb. So they quit and gave up, to remain at the foot of the mountains forever. You scouts have experienced mountains along your journey, where everything seems so tall and steep, and some of your fellow scouters felt it was easier to quit and give up, to remain at the foot of the mountains forever. But you didn't, just like the white man, who soon found that there were rocks and boulders on the sides of the mountain, blocking his path, making his journey unsafe and uneasy. And some gave up and quit to remain on the sides of the mountains forever. You scouts have experienced obstacles in your path, where everything seemed to block your journey. And some of your fellow scouters felt it was easier to quit and give up, to remain on the sides of the mountains forever. But you didn't. You continued onward and upward to where you are tonight. And you were on top of the mountain, and it feels good. When you first started your journey several years ago, you did not know this mountaintop existed. You could not possibly see it. But from where you stand here tonight, you can easily look back and see where you've been. And you can see the others where they quit and gave up. You can see them in the valleys and upon the prairies. You can see them at the foot of the mountain and on the sides of the mountains. But they do not stand with you here tonight on top of the mountain. You are truly the few among the many. Scouts, you will soon leave these leaders who have taught you well to go among other leaders who await you. These new leaders have more to teach you. The adventures that they will lead you upon are beyond your wildest dreams. The skills that you will acquire will become sharp like the blade of the knife. But Scouts, I must warn you, many of you will start upon this journey. Very, very few of you will ever stand on top of the tallest of all mountains. Know this when I tell you what lies ahead. It is of no tale or legend that I speak of. It is a journey that I have taken. It is a trail that I have walked. It is a mountaintop that I have stood upon. The valleys you are about to enter are going to be deeper and darker than any valleys you have ever known. The prairies that you will stand upon are so vast and endless, and the direction so unclear that even with the sun and the moon and the stars guiding and lighting the way, many of you will become lost forever. And the mountains that you will come upon are so tall and steep that even halfway up you still cannot possibly see the top. And the rocks and the boulders that will block your path on the sides of the mountain are so large they're like mountains in themselves. But if your path is straight and true like the flight of the arrow, someday you will stand on top of the tallest of all mountains, and you will receive the wings of the eagle. Many of you will start upon this journey. Very, very few of you will ever stand on that mountaintop. Scouts, no matter where your journey takes you, no matter where your trail ends, be it in the valleys, upon the prairie, at the foot of the mountain, on the sides of the mountain, and even if you reach the top of the mountain, you must always be willing to humble yourself before two greater powers than you. The first and the greatest of these powers is that of your God. You recently learned to pardon dishonor. one part of the Scout law says that a Scout is reverent. He is reverent to his God. You also learn the Scout Oath. And one part of the Scout Oath says that you have a duty to God. When you leave here tonight and you go back to your lodges and you lay down and wait for the darkness and the sleep to encircle your body, pray to your God. Thank Him for the Scout leaders that you have had and the Scout leaders that you will have. Thank Him for the opportunities that you have had and the opportunities that you will have. Thank Him for being part of this great movement called Scouting. Most of all, thank Him. Pray to your God often throughout your life. Follow His guidance and His wisdom. Many years ago, the children of my council were taught this simple thing. I teach it to you tonight. They were taught that someday they would stand before the great Creator of Mother Earth. And they must do so with no sadness in their hearts or shame in their eyes. Someday you will stand before the great Creator. You must do so with no sadness in your heart or shame in your eyes. The next greatest power you must humble yourself before is that of your parents. You may not have always realized it, but your parents have been with you every step of the journey that you have just taken. Think back one last time as I tell you how. When you first entered Scouting, your parents were with you. They were your Tiger Cup partners. And then you decided you wanted to advance through Scouting. You did not have to ask your parents. They came along willingly. Do you remember when you stood in the valleys that were deep and dark? It was your parents who held the fires of the torches, lighting your way out of those valleys. When you stood upon the prairies and the direction was unclear, it was your parents who pointed you in the right direction. When you started to climb the mountains that were tall and steep, it was your parents who reached down with a helping hand to pull you up those mountains. And when the rocks and the boulders blocked your path on the sides of the mountains, it was your parents who removed them, making your journey safer and easier. And you stand here tonight on top of the mountain. And your parents stand with you. They stand here with a smile on their face and pride in their hearts over what you have just done. Humble yourself before this council. Turn, shake your father's hand and thank him. Show your love and affection for your mother by giving her a hug and a kiss. Do it now, Scouts. Many years ago, when I was but a little older than you, I stood before a former Vice President of the United States, and he presented me with my eagle. And on that night, he charged and challenged me to live by these few words. I charge and challenge you to live by them also. He told me, great things you have done earn this honor. Greater still are the things you must do now that you wear it. Live by these words and honor them, and you will truly be worthy of this highest rank in Cub Scouting, Arrow of Light. Cub Master, I see other young men. Are any of these ready to be marked?
No, they are not ready. They have more.
So be it. When they are ready, send the fighters of the arrow, and I will come among you. Till then, Cub Master, go in what is known in the tongue of my people as Wamatadink Wingalausik with the Hamaway. You know this in the tongue of your people as the Brotherhood of Cheerful Service. Cub Master, go in Wamatadink Wingalausik with the Hamaway.